Hi, Tony.
Hi, Jennifer. How's everybody out there? We are going to talk franchising today, and
That's
I'm super excited, Jennifer. You got a great guest. But before we get into our guest, let's go ahead and welcome everybody to Let's Talk Franchising. Whether you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, we want to hear from you. So if you have comments, questions for our guests, please post those so that we can bring you to at least your comment, bring it to our guests. Today, Jennifer and I are just super excited. We came off of a great week. So, how was your week, Jennifer?
Oh, my week was awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I tell you, Tony, this work that we're doing in the minority space to bring franchise opportunities to our communities has just exploded. And then you know that on the heels of this, next week, Friday in San Diego for the IFA conference. So we have great momentum going into the week, and I think it's just going to be that much more explosive when we get to San Diego. Don't you agree?
I do agree. And I'm
Yeah,
so excited. And I really thank you for encouraging me to go. And I don't know what to expect. But I know I'm going with intention. And the people I'm supposed to meet are going to show up in my space. So
that's
I'm
right.
just super excited about that.
That's right. That's right.
Well,
So bring your walking shoes for sure.
oh, you know what? I'm going shopping for shoes today. As soon as we are done, I'm
I
going.
know. I gotta find some walking shoes.
And I'm gonna have to break them in because you don't break in new shoes at a
That's
convention.
right. Not at a conference.
Well, I'm going to let you take the stage and introduce your guest, and I'll bring her to the stage. But you've got, and what's interesting about our guest is someone made a connection for us. And I'm going to go back to my Facebook messages months ago. And she's so busy, we never got a chance to connect. But you know what? Everybody that's supposed to be in your space will show up when the timing is right.
Well,
If you mentioned her,
that's right.
I was like,
That's right.
more. I've been trying to meet her because she's famous. So
That's right. So thank you, Tony, for that. So let me just share. I am Jennifer Calendar. I am a certified franchise consultant. I'm affiliated with FranServe. So that's a little bit of foundation. And I'm so excited today because the guest speaker we have, I think you all are going to want to tune in, hear from, and just stay engaged with this conversation. Esteemed honor to introduce to you our guest, Ruth Agbaji. Ruth is the founder of CodeWiz, which is a coding and robotics learning center. So Ruth grew up middle class in Nigeria. She went to school, she's degreed in electrical engineering and computer science. She is self-taught in coding, and we're going to hear more about that. I'm sure it's going to come out with her story. Now, my background is coding as well. I'm a software developer, so I can appreciate the fact that she's self-taught, and I know exactly what that means. So she's worked for Microsoft. She spent a little time there on her social media that she is sort of a serial entrepreneur. So she's tried her hand at a lot of different things before she's landed here. So I want to make sure that she brings that out as well. So CodeWiz was founded in 2017. Their first franchise was in 2019. And the success that she has realized since then has been just taken off. She's been featured in Franchise Time, Entrepreneur Magazine, Franchise Dictionary, which is FranServe's own magazine, and many more. So I won't delay us any further. I bring to you Ruth. Welcome, Ruth.
Thank you.
Yay.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for such an amazing introduction. I'm like, wow, she put it all so well together. Can you send me a copy of that?
You should see me putting this together.
Yeah, I'm just super, super glad to be here and, share my story and my journey in building and founding CodeWiz. It's been quite the experience. So just looking forward to sharing more. I don't know where you want me to start.
Yeah, you start from wherever you want to start.
Okay.
We will ask you questions,
Okay.
as we, find things that we want to expound on a little bit more. But
Okay.
we just want to hear from you. We want to hear your journey.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to start at the very beginning,
Yes.
and what brought me to this point. You know, in life, so many things happen to you, and everything happens for a reason. At that point in time, you may not fully understand why you're going through what you're going through, but it all builds you up and shapes you for the amazing future that is ahead of you. So I'm happy to share all those things that happened to me that got me to this point. So yeah, I was born and raised in northern Nigeria. And in northern Nigeria, as many of you would know, there is a group called Boko Haram that operates out of that area. And they've been doing this for a really long time. I think it just came to light because of the internet and a lot of media attention. People
Mhm.
started to hear more about it. But they've been operating since way back in the 80s. And so we grew up in that environment where, you were always nervous and scared for your life because you never know when there might be a religious attack. And having grown up in that, I always felt deep in my heart that, that I was made for more, and that I could be more, and
Mhm.
that I could do more. And I didn't know what that meant, and I didn't know where it would take me, but that was the belief and the vision that I had for myself. So I went off to college, still in northern Nigeria. And Nigeria being a third world country, it is what it is. My undergrad degree was electrical engineering, but nothing worked. We would go to labs and nothing worked. There would be one working equipment for like 30 people, and then being electrical engineering, you're a minority being a girl. So they would tell the boys would say, yeah, girls go to the side, let the boys do this. You guys can write, you guys can be the secretaries.
That's right.
And so I always felt, man, this is not who I am supposed to be. This is not where I'm supposed to be. And so, as fate would have it, one of my colleagues just sort of started talking about coding to me, and modern day coding. We had been taught some coding, but we were being taught basic and Fortran, things that were used way in the 80s.
That's right. That's right.
And we were learning the code. We would write the code on paper and turn it in for the professor to grade. Like, yeah. So anyway, that was not coding at all.
It's funny that you share that, because I learned, I don't know if you realize this, but I learned on punch cards.
Oh,
You had
really?
a stack of cards, and
Yeah.
every single card was a sentence or
Right. And
you
then
were
you
working
feed
with
it.
all these cards.
Yeah, coding has come a long
It
way
has.
since
Yes.
then, and it's a whole different discussion to talk about where it's going. But
Yeah.
I will just keep sharing. So anyway, so he introduced me to what was modern at the time, and this was
Yeah.
ASP.NET /C#. And I just, something within me just clicked. It was like, this is it.
Yeah.
You gotta pursue this. So I started to teach myself how to code. Now, back in Nigeria, back then, things are much better now, but back then you didn't have internet in homes. So you would have to go to a cafe
Mm.
to buy time. And then, so I would buy time, I would download all this stuff. And so I started to, kind of understand the concepts behind programming, how all those puzzles fit together. And then I decided that I wanted to make a big project for my school. I wanted to do something that would solve a problem, a real life problem that my department was facing. Now, keep in mind, this was my first real exposure to programming, and here I was trying to build something that typically would take 2 to 3 people to build.
Yeah.
So I've always had dreams that are larger than myself, and I recognize that that's the calling on my life. So I started it, of course. I was going, and as with anyone who's ever tried to learn coding, I'm sure you can relate to this, Jennifer. You hit one error, and the compiler just throws out thousands of lines, red
That's right.
lines. Yeah,
Syntax
it's not
errors.
working.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
in your face. You broke
That's
it.
right.
Not working. Can't fix it. So, I tried and tried, but there was just no one around me that really understood what I was doing. I mean, we did have a group of boys that were familiar with that particular coding framework, but it was a boys' club. They would not let the girls in.
Mhm.
And so, but just being determined, I'm like, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is where I'm supposed to be. I reached out to some guy in India who had written a blog post about the particular error that I was facing. And I reached out to him and I said, hey, you don't know me and I don't know you, but this is my big vision for myself. This is what I want to do. This is what I feel like is my ticket out of the situation that I am in. And he responded shockingly. And so over the next 6 months, he kind of mentored me over email. I would email him my code. He would email it back to me with comments to let me know what I was doing wrong and helping me to learn how to think through some of these things.
Mhm.
And so I was able to do that. And then I completed the project. And it was that project that formed the basis of my scholarship here in the US.
Mhm.
So I went to Tufts University for my master's degree. Thanks to that, his name is Saurabh. I have never met him till today. I haven't even spoken over the phone.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
but people get put in your life, just like Tori was saying, people get put in your life that are supposed to be there, that are
That's right.
supposed to help you get to the next level. So I did my master's, got that done. That was a whole different experience, just being an immigrant, the culture shock, a whole new field, because my degree was electrical engineering. Now I was doing computer science. That was an act of perseverance in and of itself, but I made it through. And then I went into the workforce. So I worked for Microsoft for a bit. I worked for a number of other smaller companies. But again, that thing within me of, you are made for more, there's so much you can do. And you also have to understand, since we're thinking about business ownership, in this country, there are so many resources for people
Yes.
who want to start a business. There's so much. Back home, you can want to start a business, and God help you, maybe somebody will smile on you, but it's very difficult to find resources.
Yeah.
So I came here, and I'm like, the banks just give you a loan just like that, it was shocking. I mean, yes, of course, there's steps,
Yeah.
but still, for the most part, it's a relatively easy process to get an SBA loan for a business. So, anyways, I'm seeing all of these things. One of the key pivotal moments for me when I was working at Microsoft was when somebody came from corporate and was talking about how much money we made. We made, I forget now, but billions of dollars, and we're so happy. Thank you all for working hard. And everybody gets $2,000. And to me, I was like, oh,
$2,000.
you're working so hard.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, there's a salary and this is a bonus. And yes, Microsoft has 100,000 employees and they have shareholders and all of that. So it makes perfect sense, from a business perspective, that's all they could afford. But to me, it just awakened something in me like, man, I could be doing all of this for myself and not have to report to anyone, and have the flexibility that I need in my life. I wasn't bold enough at that time, to be honest, to take the next step. So, but things happened. We moved out to the suburbs. I started growing my family. I had 2 young kids at the time, so they were 4 and like 6 months or so. And it just got difficult to keep up with work and expectations. My son was always sickly since he was born. We were in and out of the doctor's offices, and it got to a point where I used up, I want to say, I keep quoting different numbers and I should probably sit down and calculate it correctly. I want to say I used up like 14 days worth of paid time off in a
Mm.
month or two, just trying to get my son back and forth from the doctor's offices. There's only so much your manager can take, you know.
Right.
And you know, at some point when you start having conversations of, so Ruth, how's it going? I'm like, oh boy, okay. Maybe this is the time to just let it go.
Yeah.
So so I decided to quit, and I was like, this is the time that I'm going to do something. So I've always been entrepreneurial. I've always tried to find something. I've always felt that calling to business ownership. So back home, I had a printing business. Here in this country, everybody has a printer in their house. Every student has a printer. Back home, you have to go pay someone to print something for you.
Mhm.
So I had a printer, learned a lot of lessons from there. You know, personal printers are not the same as commercial printers. That's number one. So you don't buy a personal printer if you're going to be printing like
Heavy duty. That's right. That's right.
So for every business that I tried that didn't work out, I learned something, and that has taken me. I've taken all of those experiences to help me build CodeWiz. So I had the printing one, I had a fashion one. I don't know why I even tried that. I'm not super fashionable. I had a dating one. Um, that
Wow.
yeah, that one kind of stinks because I think that I was just ahead of my time. If I had done it in 2020, it would probably have exploded. But this was way back in maybe like
Wow.
2014. Nobody wanted to be on a date. It just seemed kind of weird. So I gave up on that. Um, but anyway, so I tried a whole bunch of things. The last one that was most successful before CodeWiz was a nonprofit for people of color in grad school. I recognized that in grad school there was not a lot of support for people of color. We didn't have a community. If you were maybe in the South, you know, you'd have like a lot more people of color, but here up north, I think there was like one of us in like a school of 100 people. So that was a problem I was trying to solve, and I learned a lot from that. But then I knew that I needed to do something bigger. I needed to jump 2 feet in. All of these things I'd been putting in one. Let's put my water. Let's see how it goes. But this was the time. All right, I gotta go 2 feet in. And so I started to think back to my why. Why do I want to do a business? What is driving me? What would make me keep going in the middle of the night? What would make me not give up? And I thought about Sarub, the guy in India who had impacted my life. And I'm like, if he hadn't given me the time of day, I would not be where I am
Wow.
here.
Wow.
I was about to give up. So if he hadn't responded, that would have been it. And so I thought about that, and I was like, it would be really awesome to have a business where you can impact people.
Wow.
And there's no better way, in my opinion, to impact the next generation, to impact people than by working with kids. So I'm like, okay, I want to impact the next generation. I want to work with kids. And I really enjoy coding. I love the creative process. I love that you can build something out of nothing. So I'm going to do, coding for kids. So that's kind of how that was born. I honestly, I did look at the franchises that were available at the time, but I felt I wanted to do something different. There was a gap in the industry at the time, and I felt I could bring a unique perspective to it. You know, being somebody who taught myself from a project-based perspective, I felt like there was that gap. Like people were not helping kids to develop their project. We were telling them what to do versus the kids telling us what they wanted to do, which is how they would be really successful if they come to us with their goals and we help them achieve those goals. Now that goal could be, I want a character that shoots lasers out of his eyes. And then when he's shooting lasers out of his eyes, there's mountains growing in the background. This is what we hear from kids all the time. And we're like, we can help you out. How about we just start with putting the man in the world first? Let's baby steps.
That's right.
I have a question, Ruth, because you are a ball of fire. I see you are extremely passionate, and your story is very compelling. And so I also want you to thank you for bringing out how important networking is. Your friend from India,
Yeah.
had he not poured into you, And it started with making a connection. You know, you already said you wouldn't be where you are today.
Mhm.
So you created Code Whiz. You looked at other models. You didn't see what you were looking for. And from 2017 to 2019, you worked it yourself. And now you have franchised it. So,
Right.
how did you go from working it yourself to putting it into a franchise model?
Sure. So when first of all, when I decided that I wanted to do it myself, my assumption was that business ownership was easy. It is not.
I tell people all the time, people always say, I want to do what you do, and I must make this look easy because
It's
it's
not.
rewarding, it's fulfilling, but easy
It's
is
not the word to describe it, right? And so my mentality was, how hard can it be? So I start and I find that, okay, this is hard. There's so much stuff to figure out. You're responsible for everything. I have to figure out the curriculum, the marketing strategy, the hiring strategy, and all of these things I did, and I made mistakes and wasted so much money. And that's the beauty of franchising, right? Is that you're buying into a system that somebody has already gone through and made all these mistakes. So you
That's
don't have to make all these mistakes. But to go back to why I started franchising, when I started Codeways, my big, hairy, audacious goal was that I would have 5 locations in Massachusetts. But life had different plans. So, and again, this is what I was saying, that different things happen in your life for a reason, and it all takes you to where you need to be. So about a month or no, I'm sorry, 3 months into starting Codewiz, my son was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. And that just threw our life out of whack. We're going for therapies here and there, core therapy, music, ABA, all of that. We're just trying to figure out what is, it came like a shock. What do we do? How do we help him live the best life that he can? And the best way to do that, we understood, was to go to all these therapies. So I knew immediately that there was no way that I could have 5 locations on my own. It just was not going to happen. But again, you never give up on the dream. So I'm like, all right, that's plan B. Oh my gosh, I can franchise this, right? I can find people who are just like me, who really care about impact, who really want to make a difference in people's lives, who want to start their own business. I can franchise this and then have them be a part of it. And then we all grow together. We grow the brand together. They grow their businesses together, and they don't have to start from scratch like I did. So that's where the whole idea of franchising was born. And that's how it was born. And, I took all the necessary steps to become a franchise, which in and of itself is a whole different process,
a whole process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mister, that I also went into that thinking, how hard can this be? But it is very different, and it is hard.
So in going through that process, Ruth, then when you think back on that, you had a pivotal moment where you said, okay, this is the solution for me, given where I am in my life.
Right.
I know that I can franchise this. This is a model I can franchise.
Right.
How did you then, because I know that going from operating one independent location to heightening your role to developing franchises, that's a leadership kind of process that you have to resolve for within yourself. So what did that look like?
So honestly, I would say it happened naturally as a consequence of the life situation that we were in. So because I had to hyper focus on my son, I had to now hire a manager. So hiring the manager, she's like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, don't worry, I got you. Just call me. If you need anything, call me. I can at least. So, she would call, okay, this happened. What do I do? And I'm like, all right, you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. And then what then happened is she asked me the same thing. And I was like, all right, you need to write it down. This is our process for doing 1, 2, 3 things. This process for doing XYZ thing. And that is what formed our ops manual. That was the foundation of
Yes,
the ops manual. All those conversations that I was having with her, all those things that she was writing down.
that's right.
So it formed the base, the foundation. Of course, there was a lot more work to do, but it formed the foundation of the ops manual. So I just very quickly elevated myself out of the day-to-day of the business, just as a consequence of what was going on in my life. And so when I started to think about franchising, it was easy to just keep, having that manager run the day-to-day, and me just put in the 20%, to do the 20% of things that actually move the business forward, and then
Mhm.
spend the rest of my time focusing on building the franchise.
Wow.
That's so commendable, because I think what you were going through at the time, that could have deterred a lot of people and say, okay, I'm just gonna stop. I can't take this on anymore.
Right.
So the fact that you pushed through all that and then kept your business going, found a creative way to keep your business growing, that's awesome.
Thank you.
So where are you today with your franchises? So how many franchises do you have, and where are they located?
Okay, so we started franchise in 2019. Our first couple of franchises opened in late 2019, and then COVID hit. So that was quite the year to be a fledgling franchise. But then what ended up happening was, because we went online, because we had to take our classes online, that put us on the radar of a company called Tutor Doctor. So Tutor Doctor is a much bigger franchise company. They have 700 locations across the world. They're in 16 countries. They do in-home tutoring for kids.
That's right.
And they wanted someone who would, and Tony, I promise I'm answering your question. I'm just putting some.
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay, so they wanted a vendor to come in and work with their franchisees to offer coding classes and camps to their families. So we worked together in 2020 to offer that. And then we worked so well together. Our values just really aligned. They really care about the franchisees. They really care about profitability, making sure that people don't lose their investments and all of that. So we really clicked. And so they decided to acquire us. So we got acquired, and we're part of a big family of brands now. But prior to COVID, we had 2. And then we had 2 that started March 2020. Hats off to those guys. They were super bold. It started March 2020. But then we put a pause on franchising, because I really wanted to focus on them. I wanted to focus on the people that we had in the system versus focusing on growing. I was faced with a choice. I could only put my energies into one thing. So I chose to focus on our current franchisees and to help them, just stay above water, which is really what most businesses were trying to do. And then, so we're able to stay above water and we're able to thrive. But then come 2021, we get acquired. We spent a lot of time building, solidifying the foundation even more, because now Tutor Doctor has all the 13 years worth of experience in franchising. So we took all of that, made our system better, made our system stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started going back into growing the brand through franchising. So again, prior to COVID, we came in with 4, and then in the last, which are all in Massachusetts, and in the last 3 months, we've added 6 new.
And so you have a new owner here in Georgia, because I'm in Atlanta. I think you're in Snellville. Yes, I saw that. I was like, yes, she's here. I'm gonna go visit. I'm gonna go visit her.
Yeah. Charis is great.
Yeah,
I'm
Charis.
super excited for her. I think she's gonna do awesome. And then just yesterday, we signed another one for a lady named Joy in Houston. And
I'm in Houston.
Oh, you're in Houston. Nice. Yeah. It's funny, when you came on, I was like, oh my gosh, is that Joy? Because you look
I look like Joy. I got that look. Everybody says you look like Joy. No. So I can't wait to meet Joy.
Yeah,
right.
Joy sparks a lot of joy. She's
Awesome. That's
person.
wonderful. Well, congratulations
That's
on,
awesome.
let me say this. You recognize your boundaries.
Yeah.
I've heard you say that multiple times throughout this conversation, which is very important as a franchisor and any business owner, but you recognized your boundaries. You recognize you needed to get help, and you recognize collaboration with the tutoring company.
Wow.
You got this thing.
Yeah.
Where, and what I also recognize with you is you're a networker, I can tell, and you have the personality that people gravitate to. They want to include you, and you know, so that's what helps when it comes to growing any brand, is being that person people want to align with. And it's because of the way you show up, Ruth. So congratulations on that. Listen, it's been 30 minutes already, and I haven't asked you another important thing. The reason we got connected is because of minority franchising. You are part of the IFA's diversity committee, I believe.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that and that initiative, and what role you play in that.
So it's called the Black Franchise Leadership Council. And I think, we all recognize that there's a lot of potential in the Black community, but there wasn't, just from the IFA is like this big governing body. And so from a big governing umbrella perspective, there wasn't a lot of effort that was being made to bring in more people that look like us. And so the council was formed to educate people and to start to open up conversations about franchising, because the truth is many people just don't know that this is an option for them, that this is an opportunity for them. Many people hear franchising and they're thinking McDonald's immediately. And so that is the goal of the Black Franchising Leadership Council. And I am just a regular member.
And thank you for sharing that, because I attended one of the events, I think last week, where the Diversity Council with Ursa Jackson presented something about HBCU Challenge, which was an awesome event. I've gotten so much feedback from that because I posted something on the heels of that on my social media. One thing I will share there, I'm so excited to see what the Black Franchise Leadership Council is doing. That's the first thing. And I think from my perspective and where I sit, I work with clients that look like us. They want to be matched with brands that will support them in the specific way that they need to be supported.
Right.
And then on the opposite end of that, I have brands that are looking for these candidates to diversify their portfolio and their offerings.
Right.
And, it's just been really hard to tap into what support is there for me as a broker consultant that's trying to satisfy both these entities. So that's why I'm so excited about what the Black Franchise Leadership Council.
I'm so sorry. Can you hear my son?
Yes,
we hear your children, and we love it. That is
I'm like using my hands and I'm telling you, please.
Well, I'm a mother, a grandmother, and
that's why. So
that's why we do our work.
That's right.
So let him say what he got to say. So thank you for your story. Thank you for your tenacity. Thank you for pushing through. Somebody is getting upset, so we are gonna take you off. We appreciate you, Ruth, and we will see you this coming weekend.
That's right. And thank you so much for agreeing to come on. We wanted to have you last week, but we were able to shift. So thank you for your flexibility. We look forward to chatting and connecting with you next week. And take care.
Ruth, do me a favor. Go ahead and stay in the green room. In other words, don't log off, because I have 2 things I need to ask from you.
Okay.
So you see about him and come on back. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, very good. Hold on. All right.
Wow.
Awesome.
Wow. What a story. What a story. So, you know what? When Ruth was sharing, it just made me think that here in the United States, we think that we don't have the resources to make those things possible that she was able to make possible. But she started in Nigeria. You heard the obstacles that she was up against trying to navigate this whole entrepreneurial landscape, but she pushed through. I'm so inspired by her story.
I am too. And
Yeah.
I just really, I hope you all got those nuggets. I'm going to summarize them. You can't do it alone.
Cannot.
So the people you need, like the guy in India, will show up just in the nick of time when you show up first.
That's right.
Collaborated with the tutoring company. And then she was resilient. And when her family, her son, they detected he was on the autism spectrum. She was able to get help in her business, but she still kept putting one foot in front of the other.
That's right.
And that is so important to being a successful business owner. I mean, franchise or no franchise. But then she got drastic. To take my own
drastic.
She got drastic and decided to franchise her model. And now she is growing. And
right.
She's passionate about helping minorities to see the vision of franchising. So many nuggets from that.
So many nuggets.
And the whole thing.
Exactly. And then to say that, I offer franchise business ownership. I'm franchise business ownership champion all day long. Is it easy? No. She expressed that it's hard. It's the resiliency that you bring to the effort that charts the path and keeps you going.
Well, let's be clear, everybody. Whatever you're doing is hard.
It's hard.
Working for somebody else is
hard.
All right. Doing your own, building it from scratch is hard.
That's
and,
right.
But community, network, getting help,
resources
for help,
right.
Resources, showing up. We're all showing up at IFA this week, and I know our sisterhood's going to be deepened. So anyway, we could keep talking.
That's
Jennifer,
right.
You got any closing thoughts?
No, I am so excited. So do you have your appointments lined up for next week? I'm making my calendar.
I am not. I don't have a point. I know what sessions I'm going to.
Yeah.
But I'm going to ask you what you got going on. Bust
We're
in.
Going to piggyback. Yeah.
Right. So, I may bust in and be the third wheel in these.
That's right. That's right. So look for us to come on our session Saturday live from the conference. Right?
Yes.
We're going to grab some folks
and somewhere. We're going to grab some people to say hi to you all.
That's right.
And just to show you what the franchise world looks like a little bit. And you can also expect me to do lives on my page throughout.
Yes. So enjoy your week. Tony, you and I will be talking because we're going to plan some things for next week. But awesome session once again. And thank you, everyone. We're signing off.
Bye.
So what is our saying?
Bye.
What is our saying?
Oh,
what is our saying?
All right. This is Tony Harris Taylor.
And this is Jennifer Callender.
Saying take a drastic step today for fantastic
tomorrow.
Bye.